Because of the UFC's phenomenal rise to power, it's hard to argue with the decisions they've made. But the introduction of their ranking system definitely has its problems. Way back in 2013, UFC President Dana White introduced the rankings as a great tool for new and existing fans alike to learn and better keep up with the fast pace of the UFC. Directly related to this is the pound for pound, a great list for fans to know who the best fighters in the world are, regardless of their division. Understandably, dominant champs like Ronda Rousey and Jon Jones have crowded the top end of the list. But when a champ like Rousey is completely and utterly outclassed, like when Holly Holm dismantled her for the title, you'd rightfully expect the new champ to rise above the old, because they are demonstrably better. Instead, Rousey stayed above Holm for weeks in the pound for pound, and that didn't make sense. It also didn't make sense when the former champs Georges St-Pierre and Conor McGregor both stuck around the pound for pound rankings without proving themselves for years. But that's what keeps happening. As for the divisional rankings, for the most part, that system works really well for the fans. Bouts are more exciting because we have a better idea of how closely contended they should be. That creates heightened anticipation for and then enjoyment of the events. And there are real upsides for the fighters too. With a definitive measurement of where they stand in the division, each fighter should know how far they could be from a possible title shot. But as has become abundantly clear in recent years, that's not how it works. Take the lightweight champ and current pound-for-pound #1 Jon Jones, for example. In his most recent 2 fights, he won a razor-thin split decision over Thiago Silva, and then a unanimous decision over Dominic Reyes. As a result, those 2 men are the rightful #1 and 2 contenders. In comparison, strawweight champ Zhang Weili just won an even closer split decision against the former champ Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Yet Joanna remains at 4, below Jessica Andrade, whom she ran rings around, and Tatiana Suarez, who hasn't even fought a top 5 opponent. The question is, how can such a seemingly simple system be so inconsistent? As per the UFC website, rankings are generated by a voting panel made up of media members who are asked to vote on a weekly basis. But looking a little closer, you'll find those members include the likes of a community radio station, a virtual news station, and an actor. And they don't always vote. Questionable experts explain why a global superstar like Conor McGregor, with 1 win and 1 loss in the last 2 years, is next in line for the title instead of the less-known Justin Gaethje, a man who has knocked out his last 3 opponents, all top 10 contenders, all in the first round. Inconsistent voters explain why Holly Holm, who has a record of 3 wins and 5 losses in her last 8 bouts, is still the #2 contender for Amanda Nunes' bantamweight title, despite Nunes recently kicking Holm's face off in round 1. And a combination of the 2 explains why Nate Diaz, who has never won a title, can move up the ranks in 2 weight divisions without even having a fight. Famous fighters retain their rankings because some of the voting panel are casual MMA fans who sometimes simply can't be bothered to vote. Of course, subjectivity is always going to be an issue, and no one thinks this is a simple undertaking. But if the UFC is going to have a ranking system at all, it would be best for them to take it seriously, for the fighters and the fans.
Thanks for watching, and remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.